Carver Conservation Commission meeting. Our first order of business will be to read the minutes, approve them if possible, of the one we have is April 17th. Sarah, did you have a chance to send that letter to the fellow behind the King Phillips Hall there?
That's not on the agenda. I'm sorry.
It's mentioned in the minutes.
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay,
Beg your pardon.
Okay. Any,
I do have one, and is it okay if I?
yeah, go ahead, you could.
So,
Thing you
on-
want to mention?
In the first public hearing, the second paragraph, Bill Madden of GF Engineering appeared for the applicant. The meeting was open, it says immediately closed to be continued until later in the meeting. No, it was just continued
That's right,
to
yeah.
later in the meeting. And then,
So
at the
strikeout
bottom-
was open and immediately closed.
well, no, just,
No?
just strike closed to be. Okay, so it was immediately continued until later in the evening is what it should read.
Was immediate-
And then, because you can't close a meeting and then continue, I mean, it doesn't make any, but that's okay. So Bill contacted his client, and on behalf of his client, made a request to continue until next meeting on May 1st. It should read. Because we did say that in the discussion.
Right. Okay. So, any other amendments anyone sees?
Not that I can see.
Then, could I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
And second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 17th, 2013 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously, no past four,
Abstain.
yeah, 401. Okay. Another reminder about the program at the Carver Public Library on May 22nd, the Songbirds of the Northeast. It looks like it should be interesting. And I realize it's not 7:15 yet, but is there anybody here representing Francis Mills? Oh, okay, good enough, just wanted to check. Okay.
You know how they did the, you know how they do it
Oh.
by.
I miss it. Especially after yesterday. Oh, it was a long day.
What?
To see if this threat, somebody calls me.
Guys wanna share?
Sure. Somebody called, asking if it was Sunday or Monday. I'll kill him.
I'm just curious, I just wanna make sure.
Oh, sure. He said, I'm not. He was just laying, put him in the arm.
Didn't read the microphone over
That's
there.
what he said.
Oh,
Sunday. It's just funny that.
Septic system.
Then we were out collecting signs.
Oh, yeah.
well, I was just asking, because I'm on Cooper's and I didn't know.
Yeah, you're in Cooper's where? Where's your?
I'm right across from the horse farm.
Okay.
And we got
I'm starting to
Plant.
smell horses though.
in this plastic bucket. This big, decent size. I said, "Oh, I'll grab that, just
The
dump it
truck
out,
got
you
stuff
know,
up on
use
the
it for my
dumpster.
weeds, 'cause I was
Put it
weeding
in the
the
dumpster
garden."
thing.
Well, Moto saw that and thought it was the greatest toy in the world.
Probably drive it up
So
to
he
Wells.
crunched it and he played with it and he threw it around and he
$10
ran
a
around and
shovel.
with it.
Well, the problem with the horses is you have to wait like
Bent
5
and
years,
crunched.
don't you, before you can use that stuff?
6 months a year.
But it's his now, right?
Depends on what they use a lot of shaving, it takes longer to break down. If they don't use shaving, then
'Cause we used to put it in big piles and we used to have, gee, 63 pile, 93.
Yeah, the days.
I use it in my garden, stuff I, cleaned out this winter, I used in garden this year.
What a
I know each
beautiful
one
night,
is different.
beautiful day.
Oh, yeah.
When we had a garden, I put a lot in because it was free from
The
somebody.
leaves are coming out slowly.
Oh, boy, the tomatoes were 10 feet tall.
I bet.
Didn't start to even
leaves.
flower until late September, so by the time it was,
You haven't seen a blue jacket, I left my blue jacket down at the,
Oh, there's no butter.
we were holding signs, and I don't know, see who, somebody to find, see if somebody got it.
So,
Call
I'll
Paula.
have to talk about this in a public.
She's here.
I'm not sure we can even open it. There's no green cards,
Jeez.
white slips.
I wish
When I
we
came in, she was telling you when,
Okay,
So we don't even, of course,
moving all
your
kinds of
notice.
stuff.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's what Carver-
right.
Oh, okay.
But I think they were staying.
So
Don't worry about it.
I don't
It
think
will
that we
be,
can even open
still
it,
be
Jim.
here.
This new hearing, because we don't have any butter notification, the green cards, the white cards, or the notice sheet.
did you realize that you needed to have a
Well,
butter notices?
Obviously, we didn't.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the butter, no, that's not it. Just trying to see if there's a,
Oh, did they even pull on a butters list if they didn't do it, you know what I mean? It might not be in there.
17 and it is 17 Walker.
Yeah, 17 Walker.
Okay, so,
This is Cooper's Pond, yeah, that's where we went to this morning.
Delta Gas papers from last week?
No, I didn't think I brought it home. Maybe I did. Usually I don't.
okay.
There are a few more here still.
Jim, what are you looking for? Jim,
Yep.
what are you looking for? Can I-
The Delta Gas things to, we have to
Oh, I have them up here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're not onto that yet.
No, I just thought, while we're waiting, I'd pass it out.
I missed
Oh,
the
it's
last
actually
meeting.
7:15. I think,
Okay.
I don't know that we can even, I don't know. Dan, what do we usually do with this?
I don't know.
It's true, we can't if we don't have them. So, well, it is 7:15, and it's time for our first hearing, but due to some technical difficulties, it will not be opened. So, we'll go on to the next hearing, which is,
Okay.
So we can continue.
okay,
I got one then.
Bill, did you bring more copies of the plan?
I did not.
no, Sarah, that's
They're
what I was
down
getting
here?
at.
Oh, okay, good. Good. Okay.
You have yours, Sarah?
No, I don't have it. Thank you. Do we have enough?
Have to make sure it was. We're killing all these trees for this paper.
I know. Looks like we're going with him.
I know. I mean, it's not really room enough to spray two sets
I
out.
know. I know.
Anyway, we're here.
Let's see if I have it last time.
So,
Didn't we try to-
Sarah, may I go ahead with the continued hearing? Okay, so at this point, we're going to move to resume the continued hearing for 303 Tremont Street. Mickey Hankins. For those people that'll be watching this program later, this is the present Delta gas station down in South Carver. It's going to be massively renovated and rebuilt, et cetera.
All right, are you folks ready for me?
Yes, Mr. Madden.
Okay, I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of South Coast Development. Also with me tonight is Mickey Higgins. He is South Coast Development. And our proposal is, we filed a notice of intent to essentially demolish the existing Delta gas station. I think it's Eagle now, or I wrote Delta in my report, but we're all familiar with the site, I think. We're proposing to demolish that building and build a new convenience store with gas service station similar to the one you might see on Route 28 Middleborough, or in Wareham on Route 28 across from the R.F. Morse lumberyard. The reason why we came before conservation is that we had to file a site plan with the planning board because the Wetlands Protection Act requires us to at least apply for all obtainable permits at the same time that we file a notice of intent. So we filed the site plan for site plan review with the planning board, and at the same time, we filed the notice of intent with the Conservation Commission for the purpose of compliance with that portion of the regulation. So our concept in just trying to develop the project was, we have a pretty good understanding of the local wetland bylaw in Carver, and, there are some pretty strict performance standards for certain resource areas, and your own wetlands bylaw itself is reasonably rigid, and as you know, you have that 65-foot no activity zone. The nature of this site is one that it's essentially surrounded by wetlands, with the exception of Tremont Street. Tremont Street would be the only side of the site that does not have a BVW associated with it. So we really felt the need to come before the Conservation Commission and get a sense from the board, and ultimately, we hope for an approval to allow this project to move forward. So we know we have some challenges that we're faced with the 65 no activity zone, and to make it a little bit more challenging, we also have a riverfront area component with the site. And the site is, a portion of the site would be considered redevelopment, and that would be the portion of the site that was previously developed prior to, I think it's August 7th of 1996. That's the way the regulations read. And we provided in the notice a couple of aerial photographs that showed the site in 1995 and 1997. Were not able to obtain a photograph from 1996. So we felt that we were able to demonstrate that the site was previously developed, previously altered, prior to that 1996 date. The only area that we were really trying to hone in on and narrow down was the actual area of disturbance, so that we could make some determinations as to what component of the site was subject to the redevelopment portion of the Wetlands Protection Act, and what portion of the site would be subject to the development portion of the site. So I'll go into a little detail. You have to bear with me on it because it is somewhat complicated. So that's really the premise that we're working from here, trying to get a sense of direction from Concom, particularly with 65-foot buffer zone in the river protection area as well. This is just a picture of what we anticipate the building looking like. But essentially, the project location is 303 Tremont Street. The lot contains about 56,700 square feet of land, and there's currently a building of about 3,800 square feet that serves gasoline and diesel to customers. It also has a couple of service bay garages, so it performs motor vehicle service in addition to gasoline sales, and to a lesser degree, convenience store items on the inside. We're proposing to remove that structure, build a new 3,200 square foot structure, remove the existing underground storage tanks, replace those with 2 new 15,000 gallon tanks, remove the canopy that's out there, replace that with a new canopy, replace the fuel islands I think there's 2 out there now, replace those with 4 new fuel dispensers underneath the canopy. We also are proposing to upgrade the Title V septic system, because as a portion of the work, we're looking to provide a drive-through for some type of food service in the future. Right now, in order to do that, we would be required to have a public water supply well permitted for the site, or provide public water. As you know, there is no public water in that portion of Carver. So until such time that water is made available, the building would have to simply be used as convenience store and fuel dispensing. We think that by changing the motor vehicle service component to a food service, dry goods and a fuel dispensing service, that we're really improving the overall ecology of the area. I mean, when we think about what goes on, there's oil changes, there's vehicles that require service that are in the parking lot, that are there for a period of time. There's the potential for, motor vehicle fluids of any type to find their way on the ground. And in this particular instance, on the site as it exists today, there is no stormwater management other than a couple of catch basins. So all of our stormwater that hits impervious surfaces simply runs off into a catch basin and then overflows into the wetlands. So we think that by improving the stormwater system on the site, that will result in a pretty good environmental improvement to conditions that currently exist at the site. And we have designed a completely new stormwater management system, which I'll discuss as we move on. But that's pretty much what we're planning on doing. There is not going to be any food service other than prepackaged goods sold in that store until such time a public water supply is available. We're going through the permitting process now, so we felt that it was prudent to move forward and try to get that element of the development permitted at this time. Whether it gets built 2 years, 5 years, or hopefully not 10 years, remains to be seen on that. So that's essentially what we're trying to do on the site right now. As far as wetland resource areas, there's a plan, I think it's sheet 3, that illustrates the current site the way it exists today in the wetland resource areas that were delineated by Brad Holmes of ERC. I think you know Brad. He has done a fair amount of work in the town over the years. We have on the site for resource areas, we have a bordering vegetated wetland. We also have a riverfront area as well. And as part of the riverfront area, we had to delineate the high water mark associated with the river. And so that's essentially the bottom toe of bank. And that's also shown on the plan as the flags are numbered at bank flags, and landward of those bank flags are the BVW. So the BVW essentially is more landward, I'm calling it landward as opposed to wetlands orientated on the site. But you can see it essentially wraps right around the entire site. We also show in red on each one of the plans, that's the 65 no activity zone. So there's a pretty substantial 65-foot no activity zone on the site. I think it's blue, purple line, the purple line, can't read that far away, but that's, I believe, the 100-foot riverfront area. This distance from here to there is 100 feet. This one here. This out here, the floodplain line is out there. And then the 200-foot riverfront area is just a very small segment of the site down there by the entrance, I'm gonna call it the westerly-most entrance on the property. So that's what we have for resource areas, and that's what we have for existing conditions on the site.
So, Bill, if I could interrupt, I don't know about the other folks, but the plan I have does not have this line here.
Is it
Shown in
yellow?
yellow on your
Yeah.
plan, I think.
Oh,
That is, the yellow line is the riverfront? You see?
so, yeah, it's not marked.
The 100-foot riverfront is a dashed line. There's a legend on the.
Oh, yes, okay, there it is, I'm sorry.
Two yellows.
The dash with the dot is the 200-foot riverfront, which is
Okay,
down here.
I got it. Got it.
And I think what happened is that initially, we neglected to put on the 100-year flood zone. And we submitted another set of plans with the 100-year flood line shown on the plans as well. And there is no work that's associated in that area. So those are the things that we're dealing with: 100-foot buffer zone, 65-foot no activity zone, riverfront area, and BVW. According to Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program data, the site doesn't contain any priority habitat, rare species, estimated habitat of rare wildlife, or any certified vernal pools. The site's not affected by any special flood hazard zones. In general, I think there's a table up in the upper right-hand corner that just talks about some of the existing conditions. And it identifies that there's 1,742 square feet of BVW on the site. There's 55,590 square feet of riverfront area, so almost the entire site, with the exception of this piece down in here by the westerly-most entrance, is in riverfront area. And 50,600 plus on 100-foot buffer zone, and 36,000 square feet of 65-foot no-activity zone. There's a table also that we put together, and as we discuss it in a little detail, I don't think I need to burden you with listening to me recite these numbers, but we have a table in the notice of intent that broke down each one of the resource areas and how it applies to the existing lot. So what we'd like to do is develop the site in a manner similar to what's shown on sheet 5. And in order to do that, we have to meet some pretty rigid standards with the Rivers Protection Act, which I think we have done a pretty good job in meeting. The thing that we have to keep in mind when we deal with the riverfront area, particularly with the redevelopment portion of the site, is that we need to improve existing conditions of the riverfront area with any new project. And we also have to manage stormwater in accordance with the stormwater manual. So the stormwater manual requires us that we have no new stormwater conveyances that are untreated, that the post-development rates do not exceed the pre-development rates, that we essentially maximize our groundwater recharge, that we remove 80% of the TSS, and we have to have a pollution prevention plan as well, in that any discharges that are near a zone 2, which there are none, be handled in the best, using the best practical measures. The standard on the riverfront area as far as work in the redevelopment area is that, first of all, we have to have a site that was developed prior to August 7th of 1996. We have the aerial photography, we put that with the notice of intent, and so we feel that we meet that standard. So we can improve existing conditions, and that's the standard that we need to meet for redevelopment. We improve existing conditions by simply managing stormwater better than the way it's managed now on the site. But I think we did a little step beyond that, because we actually were able to meet the standards of stormwater management for the redevelopment portion of the site. Not only we met those standards, but we're also obligated under the regulations to meet the standard for the undeveloped portions of the riverfront area. So we meet the 6 stormwater standards that I just briefly touched on under both the redevelopment scenario and under the new development scenario. So we think that we met our 2 standards that we're required to meet. We manage our stormwater per stormwater handbook, and we also improve the existing conditions by virtue of increasing groundwater recharge to the area on that site. I mean, it's a water-rich area. You have a lot of cranberry growers down gradient. It's important that we just don't take that water and discharge it untreated to the wetlands. And now by providing the type of system that we provide for stormwater management, we're treating that water, discharging it into underground infiltration basins, and consequently increasing recharge to the groundwater. So we've essentially met stormwater standards for the entire project for both redevelopment and development scenario. Now, the other part that complicates things is that there's a provision in the riverfront area that allows the commission the discretion to allow up to 5,000 square feet of alteration of undeveloped riverfront area, or 10% of the riverfront area, whichever is greater. We have 55,000 square feet, so it would be 5,500 or 5,000 would be the default number of 5,000 square feet. So when we designed this plan and initially submitted it, we had 1,888 square feet of the, I'll call it the allowable, understanding that you have discretion on that, 1,888 square feet of that new riverfront area. So as we went through our initial and preliminary reviews with the planning board, and the Technical Review Committee. We tried to do some things that we could reduce the impact on the site. For example, the fire department requires us to put a fire lane around the site. You know, we respect the fire department's position on that. They would like a 12-foot lane on a paved surface. We showed something less than 12 feet. We essentially have 20 feet of pavement between the building and the BVW where we would need, the building and the limits of the work, where we would now need 24 feet. So one of the things that I'm interested in feeling the board out with is, would you folks be receptive to allowing us to have a 5,000 square foot alteration of undeveloped riverfront area on the site? That would allow us to maybe make the project work a little bit better, not pinch space, you know, particularly with this fire lane in the back of the building. You know, we may be able to, you know, increase some of the travel width, some of the travel lanes that were brought up and what have you. So that's one thing that I'd like to, you know, potentially get some feedback tonight from you on that. So that's a real important element of what we're here for tonight. Let's see. So we think we meet the riverfront. I think that we have shown that. Sean Martin from Fuss and O'Neill has reviewed the drainage calculations, and I didn't think when he provided his initial review of the site, he didn't have any major element major issue rather with the stormwater management. Maybe I'll explain a little about what we're proposing for that, just so that you get a good understanding on it. Since the site is designated as a site of higher potential pollutant loads, we're required to treat our stormwater a little bit more than a standard subdivision or any other commercial development. So what we've done here is essentially divided the site into two halves, where our drainage will run to the east and run to the west and be collected in a couple of catch basins and discharged into this oil grit separator. It's a DEP best management practice for this type of use. So we essentially take all of our runoff, run it through a deep sump catch basin. We've shown the deep sump catch basins with hoods, and we've also shown them with some, I believe it's a bioskirt is what it's called. It's essentially a oil absorbent material that's attached to the hood and will pick up any floatables. The oil grit separator is a 3-compartment tank, so we have a series of compartments where the stormwater will flow into, settling out the 80% of suspended material as required by the regulations, and then we discharge it into the underground infiltration units. Right now, there is no stormwater recharge on the site, so that's how we've managed to improve the conditions from drainage, is simply by providing this. And we've placed a pretty heavy emphasis on that drainage system. So what'll happen is all of our small storm events, you know, about 90% of our storm events in the region are 1 inch or less. So this system here will treat every one of those storms. And when we have a larger storm event, I think this is sized for the capacity of about a 10-year storm. We'll have a discharge that'll come out of the infiltration basin and just go to I believe that's the identical point where there's a current stormwater discharge. So we'll just take that water, overflow a small portion that'll come out of that infiltration basin and discharge it adjacent to the wetlands. And that's how we're planning to meet that, to meet the standard for improvement. So I think it seems pretty clear to me that, you know, we have improved existing conditions and we are managing the stormwater per stormwater standards. So I think that I think the commission could make a finding that we do comply with riverfront elements. Now, we also filed for a variance under the local bylaw, and under the local bylaw, you identify a series of values, wetland values, as they're called. And unlike the Wetlands Protection Act, there's a performance standard for each one of the wetland resource areas in the Wetlands Protection Act. But under the local bylaw, it doesn't give you a performance standard to meet each one of your wetland values standards. So we took a stab at it ourselves, and I've just outlined why we think we meet those, why we think we can meet all those standards. And again, it's it's 3 pages of information. I'm happy to go through it with you if you want, if you think it's beneficial. But you know, I can do it quickly if you want to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea, but it's up to
Okay.
the commission.
One of the, and I've grouped several of them together, but one of those wetland values that you have there is public-private water supply, groundwater and groundwater quality, surface water and surface water quality. And our position is that we will not have any significant or cumulative effect on public or private water supplies because we are providing stormwater infiltration pursuant to DEP stormwater management standards, and the filtration and the discharge of that water into the coarse Carver sands that are on the site will enhance groundwater recharge. The enhanced groundwater recharge in turn creates more water available for public water supply, down gradient users, and whatnot. So this infiltration by itself is an improvement and is beneficial with respect to the public water supply issues that we just outlined. Under flood control, we're not really affecting anything within the 65-foot no activity zone because the flood insurance rate map indicates that the flood zone is elevation 71. All of our work is occurring much higher than elevation 71. We're not filling any floodplain. We're not impacting it in any way. So we think that by virtue of not altering it, there is no adverse impact on that value under the bylaw. Erosion and sedimentation control. We have a erosion and sedimentation control. I believe it's sheet number 3. Implementation of that plan reduces storm damage that's associated with any sediment filling down gradient wetland areas. So we won't have an opportunity for inadvertent fill of an adjacent wetland area. Under the prevention of public water, we recognize that
Pollution, prevention of water pollution.
prevention of water pollution, yes. The changes in water quality affects drinking water supplies, fisheries and wildlife habitat. The project does involve also a Title V improvement, an upgraded Title V system. And I'll add also that as part of that Title V system, thinking in advance of the food service element, you know, once it gets put in there, it's been designed for the food service component. It has a grease trap associated with the site, or with the septic system, so we have all the components that are needed to properly deal with the sanitary waste from the facility. It's a rather large system, but we have essentially accommodated all the future uses. And the reason why we did it is it makes no sense to dig that site up after we spend a lot of money to develop it. So we think that it was a prudent move to do that. And that in itself will help improve any water quality and will reduce the potential for water pollution. Under stormwater drainage and the prevention of pollution, we've designed the stormwater management system in full compliance with the DEP standards. The discharges will not contain any toxics, hazardous substance, oils, or grease. I mean, that oil grit separator will be the major measure to stop any of that material from finding its way further downstream. in recreation, that's a little bit more difficult. It's somewhat, I think, I don't know, subjective in nature to some degree. But we have in the past defined it as the use of land and enjoyment of the natural surroundings in a manner so as not to hinder access to the wetlands or other resource areas. And the site is fully developed as it is for all intents and purposes. And the redevelopment portion and the site in general doesn't really offer a lot of recreational uses or anyone to really enjoy a scenic vista, say, for example, or bird watching, birding area or something along those lines. So I think just by virtue of where it is and what's going on down there, that it's a little difficult to realize any true recreational value for the site. Under agriculture, it's not an agricultural project. We're not protecting agriculture, but the downstream users are cranberry growers, and I did spend some time with the Weston brothers. I talked to them, before the day we filed this plan, and I specifically sat with them and explained pretty much everything that I'm explaining to you folks tonight. And I don't want to put words in their mouths, but I think that they understood what we were talking about. I believe that they were in agreement with what we have shown. So we're improving groundwater quality. I mean, we're taking a use that offers full service motor vehicle service out there. We're taking that away, and we're doing simply dry goods sales and the sale of petroleum products. Aesthetics. The relative qualities to be protected, at least in our view, are normally those natural and natively scenic impressions of ponds, streams, lakes, and the lands that border on them. Once again, the site is fully developed, and the development, while I think aesthetically the development will be much nicer than what's there now, I think that development doesn't really have much to do with compromising the natural or natively scenic impressions that you might have when you drive by. Under rare plant and animal species, I mean, we're not in an area of rare species or rare habitat, and we don't think that this wetland value plays a role in this project. And the riverfront area is the last, and the project is in a riverfront area. The development component of it is in full compliance with stormwater standards. So I think we've really gone over and beyond on that one. So we think that essentially the project could be considered to have a positive impact on all the resource area values under your bylaw for the reasons that we described. Now, there was a comment that was brought up about the alternatives analysis. Once again, when you have a combination of redevelopment and development, that becomes a little bit more difficult to analyze and digest. And when we deal with redevelopment portion on alternatives, the alternatives are really, what alternatives do you have in front of you in order to ensure that you meet stormwater standards? We were able to meet the stormwater standards to the full extent of the regulation, so there is no need to explore any other alternatives because you already achieved that goal. If we were not able to achieve that goal, then we would have to at least evaluate some other alternative. I don't know what it would have been, but I think that the alternatives analysis was met by meeting stormwater standards to the full degree. So that's like the nuts and the bolts of it all. Really we would really like to see some of that 5,000 square feet on that riverfront area. It would really be beneficial. for public safety components, for the project as a whole. I think if we don't have to, pinch so many little corners, and if the commission were interested in allowing that 5,000 square foot alteration, we can probably end up with a little bit better fine-tuned plan. We can go back to the planning board and incorporate a few things, come back to conservation, show you the things that we have incorporated in the plan, and hopefully make the project a reality.
Are there any places, areas on the plans here that, where some of your, you might contemplate these changes, that if we were giving you a variance of 5,000 square feet, where would those apply?
Well, I think that a piece of it is gonna be on this access road in the back. There may be something over here on the side just to widen up an entrance. I know that the consultants talked about working a little better on these entrances and what have you, and, even maybe widening something out over there on the westerly side. So those are the things that we're looking at, is just maybe expanding our footprint a little bigger, so that when we revise the plan, that there's just a little bit more room to work. I mean, we would work toward minimizing it, but if we have a number to work toward, then it's easier for us to come up with a suitable design, and also easier for us to comply with any of the additional things that Fuss and O'Neill, the review engineers for the planning board, may have as well. And where it's allowed under the regulation, it's discretionary on the part of the commission.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
if I
Go
may.
ahead.
Bill, I have a question on Sean Martin's comments, page 2, under stormwater. It says that Volume 2, Chapter 2 of the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook requires 2 feet of separation from the bottom of the infiltration systems to seasonal high groundwater. It appears the infiltration systems may not provide adequate separation. Have you,
We looked at it,
Tackled that.
we think we do. If we had to raise it up, we could probably raise it up a little bit, or else make shallower infiltration units and spread them out a little closer to the canopy, or to the fuel dispensers rather. But we looked at that, the data that we were using, there's a 21E that's been put together on the site. We took the water table data from the 21E and looked at that, and I thought that the test pits showed that we were gonna be pretty good. The old Title V test pit data that was done out there, they show water at 108 inches and 120 inches, so 10 feet and whatever it is, 10 feet and 12 off of that, 9 feet. So it's down pretty good, and we have a shallow cross-section, but obviously we will have to meet that standard. But we haven't addressed the comments that Sean has put forth yet, because I think that our dealings with Concom are really gonna impact how we respond to those.
so obviously, though, you will have to deal with that in terms of conservation as well.
Yes.
But, so what you're asking the commission tonight is to basically tell you whether they feel inclined to give you the 5,000 square feet alteration? Is that the main issue?
Yeah, we're looking for like the difference between the 1888 and 5,000, so it's an additional 112 or something to that effect on the site, another 3,000 square feet. Oh, and I didn't point out that the roof water runoff, that'll be directly infiltrated at the rear of the site. We didn't want to contaminate through surface water runoff any clean roof water. There was no point in discharging at grade to have it run through a oil grit separator and then infiltrate it and overflow. We just took it straight from the roof and discharged it to an infiltration element.
That's good, because that helps to compensate for the additional developed area and paved area. Sarah, this report from Sean, is it possible we could get copies of it?
Yes, I'm sorry that I didn't, I just got it yesterday. Well, I got a copy of his digitally, and I intended to send it to you guys so you would have it to bring tonight.
Right, we can have it when we walk,
Right.
that's the other thing, too.
So when we have our technical review committee meeting, when I think you might have a copy of my comments in there. Each, department head that's relevant to the project comments, plus Sean, the engineer. So that's what Bill was talking about. And as Bill said, he hasn't gotten to addressing these yet because he doesn't know quite how to proceed with you guys.
Well, I think that if you're inclined to grant us the 5,000 square feet of alteration, our answers to the technical review items will be one series of answers, and if it's desired not to grant it, then, they'll be different. So that's why we're just looking for a little insight on that.
Well, would the commission like to discuss that at all? This question about.
I make a motion that we grant them to allow them to go up to 5,000 square feet.
Okay. Seeing as you don't feel there'll be that much of a difference in the effect.
No.
I tend to agree with you.
The whole thing is an improvement over what's existing there. So a little bit more pavement, they gotta deal with the stormwater anyways.
Right.
I see no issue. I do see issues with the fire department needing so big of fire lanes around buildings, but it's another thing to deal with.
Dan, you might want
'Cause
to use the
I'm
microphone.
sure they're not gonna park their truck right behind that flaming building with a tree line behind them. But, so my motion is to allow up to 5,000 square feet of additional disturbance.
I'll second it.
That's within the new development or redevelopment area?
It'd be the new development.
Russ, what do you think?
Thumbs up here.
Yeah, okay, good. Jen, did you want to take a minute from the minutes to,
I know, sorry, I'm trying to keep up. No, I'm good.
Everybody needs to use the microphone, please. If you want people to hear you at home,
They don't wanna listen to me.
you'd be surprised.
so, okay, I believe I agree with the other members of the commission that it will be a massive improvement, and that I don't think that the 5,000 feet is a heavy loss, considering the improvement that's going to be achieved.
So
So,
So I think we should take a vote after Sarah's question.
Thank you. So Bill, wait a minute, it says that limiting the total alteration to 5,000 square feet or 10%, whichever is greater.
So we could actually get to 55, 60. So
Okay.
Could get a little more if you were so inclined.
So that would be the 10%. That's what I thought I heard you
10%,
say,
yeah.
yep.
I'm sorry, is he going for the 5,000 even or 10%?
Well, that's what
I'm trying
you
to
guys
find
are
out.
deciding.
Right.
So it was 5,500
and again,
would be 10%, right? You know what you
yeah,
said?
the difference between 5,000 and 10% is not material. It's
Well,
not-
they're allowed, if you
I know.
allow this, they're allowed to do whichever's.
Yes, yes, I understand. What we could do is say
My motion
up
is
to,
for 5,000.
motion for, trying to get the notes right here.
Okay, is everybody happy with that, or would you like to amend that to move it up to 10%? Which would make it slightly larger.
With all the 5,000.
Did somebody second the motion?
I
Yeah,
did.
Judy seconded,
sorry.
sorry. So everybody's ready to fall in on the 5,000 line? I'd like to see the 10%, but obviously I'm in the minority. So, seeing that, why don't we have a vote on the motion as it's stated, which is to allow up to 5,000 feet of
Square feet.
variation.
Square feet.
Yes. 5,000 square feet.
Aye.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's passed unanimously. So that will give you some guidance as to what you can achieve with that.
No, that's, we appreciate your consideration on that. It was very important to us, and thank you for your open-mindedness, and I think we proved it out. So what we'll do next, we'll request a continuance of this hearing. We will make some plan revisions. We will go through the technical review that Sean Martin provided and address those items and come back before the commission with the revised plan. I think we have a scheduled hearing with the planning board for the 7th. That's a week from Monday? Monday,
Yeah, that's right.
7th.
Monday past, right?
It's next Tuesday.
Tuesday, rather, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we'll have the information for them by then, but I'm sure that someone's gonna be pushing me to get it done.
So you'll be giving us revised plans too? Okay.
Right, okay.
Because
And
it'll be,
what we're trying to do is make sure everybody's on the same plan set, same plan date,
Right.
and what have you, just so that there's some continuity there.
that's good. And Bill, if you could, I always forget who I've told this to, but if you could email me the plans too, digital,
Sure.
that would be terrific.
When would you like a site walk done prior to the next meeting?
That would be great, yes.
Well, here's the thing, if I can interject. To do this, when the commission does their site walks, they typically check the delineation and check, the stakes for where everything's going to be and how far they are and what looks like it needs fixing or adjusting. So if you're going to be redesigning the plan,
We really can't do the walk until
well,
we
you
get the...
can, but you'll end up doing 2 walks.
Yeah,
one
that's
for
right,
the
so-
delineation only, maybe, and then one,
Okay,
I
well,
just to let you
it's
know.
fine.
I don't wanna
Our-
waste this time.
Our earliest hearing, continuation of this hearing would be to the 15th.
Yeah, but yeah,
The
I
15th.
have to throw my 2 cents in. Usually, you're staking where buildings are and stuff like that.
And
The
that-
building is not moving. Am I correct, Bill?
Well, that building's being torn down, and there's a new
No,
building.
no, the new building, where the new building's going is
Yeah.
not gonna change in the
Correct.
revised.
Well,
plan.
we don't think so,
We don't think so, but we don't know.
but it
And
may
also,
change, slightly.
that impervious surface area is going
Yeah.
to change, so that distance that you would be,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's your call. I don't mind.
No, I
doing
think
two
it's
walks.
valid. I think that's a valid question Sarah's raised, so. But you do intend to have those new maps ready for the planning board. So at that point,
You what?
Should be ready for us.
Yeah.
We can do a site walk. Well, it looks small.
so if those,
So I guess, yeah. I mean, that really is up to you guys. Whether-
No,
If
no.
you want to do 2 walks, I'm fine.
No.
Just-
I think it's valid to wait until they're,
I mean, if you want to look at the wetland, I mean, it's, I don't want to inconvenience you.
No, but
you guys go out there, but what we've done for the planning board is we've identified the canopy corners.
Right.
They're out there per this plan. The building is out there per the plan. the toe of the slope for the drive-through is out there per this plan. So from a point of reference, I mean, it's gonna be, I think, beneficial to you to see it. I mean, I don't think there's gonna be an issue with any resource area boundary.
How long before, my question's gonna be, is how long before your revised plans?
You're gonna have
2
those for the
weeks.
planning board though, aren't you? The revised plans will be for the planning board?
They're not gonna be walking in the next probably week.
No, they won't be done. I would like to say I could have them all done for the 7th, but I don't know if I can. And
Mickey says you can.
I know what Mick said to me.
Well, I doubt if they're actually walking by the 7th either, and we don't care when planning board gets them.
Yeah.
But since they have the
Good,
earlier
good.
meeting,
Because if the site walk is, say, a week from Monday, do you think the commission would have the plans by then?
A week from this Monday? A week from Monday coming?
All right,
So like the 13th of May.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
yeah, so I see no reason why the commission couldn't schedule their walk, say, late next week or the beginning of the next week.
as soon as the plans arrive in the office, Sarah, then hopefully Peg will be back by then, and she can let us all know.
Yep.
And then we can schedule a walk.
And I tend to agree with Bill about the delineation. This particular
Yeah.
delineator is pretty good, so.
Okay. So that looks good. So we'll look for
Make a
motion.
motion to continue the hearing,
To May 15th.
May
I'll
15th.
second it.
Been moved and seconded to continue the hearing on the, what's it called, 303
May
gas?
15th.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, 303 Tremont Street project to May 15th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passed unanimously.
Thanks very much for your time. Do appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
So, yeah, so let me know, send them to me as soon as you have them ready. And then we'll pencil in May 13th for a walk.
Okay.
Not gonna recognize South Carver after this is done. Yes, they will.
Be a big improvement. It's exciting. Okay, thank you so much. Do appreciate it.
The only downside I have when I go to Morse Lumber all the time, and it's a pain because their entrance is right across from the convenience store. And people don't use the blinkers, so you go to pull out to go to the left, and all of a sudden someone's pulling out to go to the right. Surprised there hasn't been major accidents there.
Well, you got the police station right next door.
Yeah,
there, so-
exactly.
Yeah, they'll still take a day to respond.
All right. Okay,
Thanks a lot.
thank you.
See you later.
So, at this point, I'd like to open the hearing for 45 and 47 North Main Street. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, Dan. Are we opening this one?
Yes, we didn't open it before, did we?
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Did we?
We didn't?
This is a continuation.
Yeah, this is a continuation.
It's a continuation, okay, I'm sorry.
That
It's just a
notice is
continuation.
for 17 Walker Road.
Yeah,
that
no,
you
it's
couldn't
just,
hear earlier in the evening.
I didn't remember that it had been open,
And
so I was
he
reading
has
that. Oh, Carver.
Has since produced the green
not
cards.
listening to me.
Oh, so we'll have him after this gentleman, okay?
So am I up?
You're up. Start swinging. This is the North Main Street, Norfolk Power.
All right, for the record, my name is Jeff Assa with Morse Engineering, here representing the applicant Norfolk Power Equipment. This is a continuation for a notice of intent for a commercial building at 45 and 47 North Main Street. We presented this project at the last hearing in detail, and we continued it for 2 weeks to this hearing in order to have time to do a site visit. In that time, we've had 2 formal site visits, one last Monday and another one this morning. And I don't think I'll go over all the detail of the project unless you have any specific questions or would like me to do it again. Guess I don't want, because we did go through it at the last meeting. To give you an update on the permitting and the and answering questions regarding the project, there was we had a technical review meeting a while back, and we submitted a letter on April 15th and revised plans addressing all of the outstanding comments from all of the boards and from Fuss and O'Neill, the town review engineer. Fuss and O'Neill submitted a letter today stating that we have addressed all prior comments, and they offered 4 general recommendations. 3 of them had to do with planning board, and they were really just recommendations. The 4th does pertain to conservation, and that was a recommendation that chemical dust control that should be prohibited, which I agree with, and that's perfectly fine with me and the applicant. Natural Heritage has issued a letter stating that this project will not have an adverse impact on the habitat. The Board of Health has approved the location of the well and the septic. And we have a second planning board hearing next week, and I anticipate that they will close that hearing at that time. So that being said, I believe we have addressed all comments, but if you have any additional comments, I'd be glad to address them as well.
Pass these out. What you have coming around now is Sean Martin's comments that we received today. And if I may butt in, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please do.
Jeff, you also sent us, or sent me, PDF of a spill response plan, a notification of hazardous waste activity in Massachusetts, and an on-site Class A recycling notification form. These look like they're for the same operation. Well, let me backtrack. The hazardous waste activity one and the recycling notification form look like they're for this company's other location in Middleborough?
They are, yeah, I sent those kind of as an example, showing what they have
Okay.
now, and they understand they'll have to fill out the same
Okay.
forms before operating here.
So they'll be doing the same thing, okay. And then the spill response plan, this applies to this particular site in Carver?
It does, and they will need a NIPD's permit before construction, and that will be included in the
Okay.
NIPD's permit as well.
Okay. Very good.
I'll be all for it if they'll switch to selling Ford tractors and New Hollands.
Are they better than Honda?
No.
If people buy them, maybe you can convince them.
Huh?
Maybe you can convince them.
Nah.
And one of my questions that I asked at the on-site today just for those who weren't there, was there will be no motor vehicle repair or any of these materials, these hazardous materials, like outside the building. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
The rear of the building is set up so you can drive through the back of the building, and then there are 5 bays on either side of the aisle, and that's where the work will be done.
Just wanted the others to hear it.
Is to replace the Middleborough one, or just they're expanding?
You know, I don't know, to be honest.
I was just curious.
I'm not sure if they know for sure yet either.
Where's the one in Middleborough? from?
It's where the old Chase Chevrolet used to be on 105,
Hmm,
just as you get off the highway from.
right, okay. I passed it without realizing. I've driven past it obviously a number of times without realizing it.
They've only been there, what, a year, 2 years, maybe at the most.
Yeah. They do a great business today. I
They
was
were
there. There was-
RF
Yes.
Morse had moved there,
Right.
and then Norfolk Power Equipment took over RF Morse.
Yeah. Exit 4. Mhm. We had a site walk today of the site here, and I don't believe any of the commissioners felt that there were any problems. They're very satisfied with it. So,
Yeah.
are there any other questions, Sarah? Do you have?
You gave the green cards to Peg last time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. She's locked.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Oh, you should ask if there's any questions from the audience.
Any questions from the audience? Lacking that, it's been moved to close the hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to close the hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passed unanimously.
Dust control.
So, how do we feel about the,
Wanna hear what Sarah's conditions are?
yes, okay, we'll hear some.
Okay. So, I'm gonna give it the usual boilerplate.
Right.
As well as no chemical dust control.
Right.
What kind of dust control do you propose?
Water.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay.
There is an item that we, the earth removal committee has started using and encouraging people to use. It's called dirt glue. And what it does is it coagulates basically the loose elements of the dirt so that they don't blow. And
What's that made of?
I'm not really sure. I think there's some polymers in it, but it's been found to be very non-toxic whatsoever. It's very expensive, but,
Polymers in it?
pardon me?
There are polymers
I
in it?
believe there are some polymers in it. I'm not really sure.
I
But
thought we use water.
doesn't work as well.
What are we controlling dust for?
Blowing.
While the project's being built, I mean, you know.
During construction?
Yeah, yeah.
Water's fine.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
It's a small site,
Yeah, it's already a very dusty site. It's not
Yes.
stabilized very well, so.
flat.
It'll be a big improvement over the conditions
Yeah.
over the past couple of years while it's been there barren.
And then I'm also going to just list that, as Jeff already knows, that the project will need a National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit, NIPD's permit, and these two applications to DEP, one for the hazardous waste activity and the other the recycling. They're gonna take, sounds like they're gonna take the used oils and things from the machines that they repair and reuse it on site. Is that your understanding?
I'm not sure what they do with it, but they would have
No,
to-
that's all right. I
they
think it's for
dispose of it.
generating,
Some places use it for generating heat.
that's what I think I read here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, into a clean burn furnace, so it does sound like,
Oh, okay.
so they know they'll need to do that as well, but I'll just put that in, unless there's anything else anyone had. For those who weren't at the walk, Jeff explained to us that the stormwater basin is going to start at the back of the pavement, go slope down 4 feet, and then come back up and end right at the tree line. So it's not going to change that slope into the pond, and it's not going to affect the whole slope. So it's really going to stay all right there. So those are my conditions.
Okay. So we need a motion to issue a, what are we doing here? Getting a notice of intent?
An order of conditions.
Order of conditions, yeah.
Make a motion to issue the order of conditions as outlined by the agent.
For 45 and 47 North Main Street.
Okay, and I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on it otherwise? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Abstain, I abstain because I was not at the first hearing.
Right, so 401 is the vote.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. So who made the motion and who seconded it?
Dan made the motion.
Dan.
I'm the motion maker tonight.
401, with Dan abstaining.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thank you again. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Too. Okay, so I'm not going to pass this around since Peg isn't here. When she comes back, because she needs to witness you signing them, so when she comes back, I'll dragging you in.
We'll be in the office one by one.
So, Mr. Chair, just so you know, the applicant's representative for the 7:15 public hearing that you couldn't open has returned with all the abutter notifications.
Good.
If you care to hear him.
So at this time, we will, did we open it?
No, we couldn't because.
We couldn't, okay, that's right. So now we have to read the notice. All right. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 PM, which is now 8:25, in Meeting Room 1 of the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent for Francis X. Mills for the proposed construction of a new septic system and related site work. A portion of the project is within the 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource, the inland bank of Cooper's Pond. Project is located at 17 Walker Road, Carver, Mass., map 14, lot L0. All interested parties are invited to attend.
Come on up. I didn't get them back to you, did I? Okay. They're here somewhere. this gentleman just handed me all the green cards, and I must have stuck them in here. I'll find them, and we have them, so just carry on.
Okay, would you like to go ahead and,
Certainly. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers from Flaherty and Stefani in Plymouth. We represent the applicant this evening for a project, as was mentioned, on 17 Walker Road. The existing conditions out here is an existing 4-bedroom, single-family home with a failing cesspool that's located approximately 25 feet from Cooper Pond. The proposal before you tonight is to fill in the existing cesspool, have it pumped, fill it in with clean sand, and then construct a brand-new septic system for the 4-bedroom home. On the board before you, I show the resource area in blue, the 65-foot buffer zone in red, and the 100-foot buffer zone in green. Essentially, the work, other than the filling in the existing cesspool and constructing a septic system, would consist of some inside plumbing in the house to get the new septic system to work out, a new 1,500-gallon tank located in this location. We tried to locate the septic tank and the system to avoid a large mass of rhododendrons that's located right here between the house and the driveway. The new septic system is located in this area right here, which is just about the furthest point on the lot that we can get it. It would end up being about 170 feet from the resource area, 11 feet off of the street line, and that septic system would consist of biodiffusers, which are essentially chambers, 16 inches wide, 34 inches wide, 16 inches deep, and 38 feet long, with a D-box prior to the diffusers, and also a PVC vent with a charcoal filter on it. In a nutshell, that's really the project. Again, we tried to stay outside as far as we could away from the existing resource area. I should note that there's a cranberry bog across the street from Walker Road. That buffer zone is outside of our work, but there's a small area to work outside the buffer zones, and tried to keep that outside as far as we could.
this, the well is indicated up there on the,
Yeah, the well is located right about here. It's 101 feet from the septic system, so that conforms. So at this point, I'd like to answer any questions you may have.
no, I don't see any.
Site been marked?
No. Do you think we ought to look at it? Walk it? I think it's a pretty cut and dried application.
Only thing I would like to see is some hay bales on the pond side of the old septic system while they're pumping and filling.
Right, that's a rather steep decline from there down to the shore.
Would you prefer hay bales or silt fence?
Hay bales.
Either way is fine with me. Keep runoff from going down there. Whatever the commission so chooses.
Any opinions of that, Judy? Us? Hay bales or silt fence? Sarah? What do you
Is it real steep? I'm just,
It's fairly,
Looking at
it's
the map,
fairly
it's
steep
just-
right in that one area.
there's there's a type of erosion control that we were looking at today on the site that was just in, and it's about so big, it's this long tubular thing, and I think
Silt
they
socks.
Wattles.
inject it with, or I don't know what it's called, is that what, they inject it with some kind of mulch?
Yeah, they call them silt socks.
Are they very expensive?
Not really, no.
Because that thing isn't going anywhere, and it's,
It is nice. It's kinda easy to work with sometimes, but
You don't
Can
think
just
it
be
works
staked
very
in
well?
place.
You'd rather see,
I don't know. I think hay bale will give a wider footprint to keep something from going underneath of it,
Mhm.
and those things.
okay.
In
I
this instance,
prefer that too.
On hay bales?
Yeah.
do you happen to know the cost difference between the two?
I don't think it's a lot. Hay bales are pretty cheap, but those silt socks, probably cheaper than silt fence.
Alright.
I see those used a lot more on pavement than in open areas, but they're starting to be used a lot more too.
Yeah.
So, well, it's,
Close the hearing.
It's always the last place you look.
Yeah, that's right, the last file, there it is.
well, anything else anybody sees? They want to make an issue of?
I make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing on 17 Walker Road. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Passed 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And so,
Condition, Sarah?
Add a condition?
yes, I think just the hay bales on the pond side of the septic system when pumping and filling, the rest of it, just boilerplate, you know, no more work without a new permit. Unless you guys have anything else.
So make a motion to make a motion to approve the order of conditions as outlined by the agent.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to issue an order of conditions as outlined by the agent for 17 Walker Road. Any discussion on? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Pass unanimously.
Yes, and I want to give you my,
All right.
scan the minutes, but okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Pass unanimously, 5-0.